Hello, my friends. Welcome to my sharing on living wisdom. Today's topic is my personal perspective in I-Ching. I'm Dr. Tenderlin, a professor and a psychologist. The reason I want to share with you with this topic because this day in the year of 2023, I watched Taiwanese video on TV and on my personal iPhone. I enjoy watching all these Taiwanese video on I-Ching, but it instigates a lot of feeling and in my mind, and I feel wonder how these I-Ching speeches, what kind of impact they are going to have on the audience, and I want to share my feeling on this topic. These days in my life, I run very smoothly. I enjoy my life every day. There's no need for me to do fortune telling from I-Ching. But while I'm watching all this video, I just wonder myself, why not do a fortune telling on I-Ching? And I say, wow, they might have a chance. Because a couple of days ago, I just went to see a dentist and have an implant. After I have an implant, that night my gum was bleeding, and even though I went to see doctor the next day, it was have some reservation on my mind. I still feel a little bit frightened about it, and I'm going to see him again in next 2 days. I say, why not do a fortune telling? See what the I-Ching can tell me. So I did a fortune telling, and I find out my gua I obtained is the sun gua. This here is the sun gua. And it tell me, I check the book, it tell me to follow, just act like a wind and follow the direction from the top, then I will be okay. And I say, yeah, I just do that. So 2 days later, I went to see dentist. They told me everything is okay, so I feel relief. But afterwards, I tell myself, well, I'm not sure this Sun Gua is helping me at all because I always do the same thing as usual. I follow the dentist direction, and I don't see any different. I respond any differently by following the Sun Gua because even though without Sun Gua, normally I will go to see dentist the same way like I did before. So it's just an experience I have at this point about I-Ching. I share with you. In my life, I have never asked I-Ching for fortune telling, but I did have one very dramatic, somehow little bit scary moment in my life. And I like to take this chance to share with you. I remember in 1964, when I came to the United States to study, on the day of the departure, I got everything prepared. My family all prepared, want to come to Taipei to see me off. And I also prepared to get ready. Everything is ready to go. But on the day of departure, me and my classmate, Mr. Shen, went to a Taipei travel agency to get a plane ticket. The time when we go down there, we were told we have no ticket because the agent took away our money and run away. Wow, at that moment, I don't know how to describe it. We were just so disappointed. And we are kind of really angry too. So I called my father at the airport. He ran over to the agency and he appeared to the manager. Finally, the manager agreed to give another ticket in 2 weeks. So we end up not riding Japan Airlines, but riding Philippine Airlines to come to San Francisco. But during that 2-week period, my brother is the only one stay with me. So I took her to the Wentong Su to have a small trip, and he prayed there for me. Not just that, on the day of departure, my mother took me to a small temple to pray for my departure too. But I really can't imagine that our ticket was run away by the agent, Taipei travel agents. But when we come to the San Francisco, we got to ride the grateful bus. Each one of us, Mr. Sen and me, we went on a different direction. He went to his school, I went to my school, so we split, and from there, we lost contact with each other. In 1975, my father came to the United States to see me, and I used the chance to take him on a small trip on the East Coast. And can you imagine? I really cannot imagine. We were so surprised. On a day, we visited a park in DC. And at that park, we are surprised to see Mr. Shen and his family right there. We meet him right there. Wow, that's 14 years later since we split. And we will see each one of us got our own family, and we are so happy with each other. And he went us to his house, have a small gathering for lunch. Definitely, that's a great moment to see each other. So after the lunch, when we went back home, I asked my father on the car, how you feel about the trip and the gathering we just had with Mr. Chen and his family. My father is a home shui master by trade. That time he told me, he replied, he said, maybe Mr. Chen is the time for him to pay the debt to me, because 11 years ago, I'm the one get the ticket back from the manager, Taipei travel agency. Wow, that is really the instruction he gave to me at that time, and I accept his interpretation. But at that moment, I was thinking about it. What this experience tell me? especially if I did ask, check into I-Ching, what kind of Gua I will obtain. I really don't know. But honestly, I really feel I don't need to check I-Ching about the Gua on this, because I have been doing very well, and this is the way I see is the way of my life. And I know life is just up and down here and there. And although we cannot really predict what is going to happen, but I have been doing well, very well, up to this point. That's why my father come to see me to share her last moment of his life with me, and we have been really enjoy up to that point. So, although I did not have an I-Ching or consult with I-Ching or have a Gua from I-Ching, but I don't feel a need for it, to be honest with you. I just live my life as the way it is all along. Not just the above frightening and exciting moment in my life did not tell me I need to consult I-Ching or life course. Actually, my whole life up to this moment, I'm 84 years old, I still don't feel I need to consult I-Ching for my life course. Why? Here, let me tell you a little bit about my life experience in the United States. For example, in my doctor study at the UCLA, I was studying the counseling psychology, and in my study, I got really a culture shock on myself. Because when I was in Taiwan, we always think teacher, counselor, parent, everything supposed to be carry the teaching law to their kid, their client, their student, the way how to do things. But when I come to UCLA to study my doctor dissertation, I was told the counselor is not really in the teaching law, but in the facilitated law. He is just to facilitate the counseling process to help the client to recognize, to clarify his problem situation and to solve his own problem. And very much emphasize, client is the one to be responsible for himself. That is really shocking to me, and it is a great knowledge for me too. Not only that, when I finished my school, I went to South Carolina Department of Mental Health. I worked with the drug abuse patients, and I found out a lot of them have an emotional problem. And I developed a personal and social skill training program for them to help them how to manage their emotional life and to become a winner in his life again. And the way to do that, they have to know how to manage their emotions themselves, not somebody else. No, they have to take responsibility for themselves too. And really thinking about my whole life up to this point, I'm already 84 years old. I really learned one thing, that it is the me alone responsible for myself, nothing else. And I think each one of us should realize that. And we always heard about somebody say, you come to this earth alone, and you live, you leave this world alone too. And in the process, you are responsible for yourself alone too. I want to emphasize. We are responsible for ourselves. That's what I learned all my whole life. I want to emphasize the reason I don't give too much credit to I-Ching on guidance of my life. Doesn't mean I know nothing about I-Ching or I don't like I-Ching. No, I did know something about I-Ching and I like it to a certain extent. You can see here when I was in 1960, early much in my college life at the Taiwan Normal University, I studied a lot of East and West philosophy, and especially to the Eastern culture. I spent a lot of time on it. I studied the philosophy, the Buddhism, and the I-Ching too. I even published a lot of articles, a renowned article. They say, for example, in Hong Kong, Rensen magazine, I have an article published there, and I also have an article published in Taiwan New World article, all to do with human nature. And when I discover about human nature, of course, I talk a lot about Eastern philosophy, including I-Ching. For example, another edition, I even joined the college contest and earned an essay competition at the college level. I write an article on Buddhism and philosophy. So you can see, I really have a pretty much good knowledge about Eastern philosophy and I-Ching. And I like I-Ching talk about how you want to learn from nature to follow the Yin-Yang rhythm, and I can accept it because I literally know between heaven and earth, when they start to interact with each other, all creatures have their life. And I can even look at my surrounding, male and female, when they get married, they have a kid. So all these nature phenomena is readily accessible to me, and I have no problem to accept what I-Ching, the main doctrine, talk about yin and yang. Basically, the yin-yang rationale is telling us yin and yang are constantly interact with each other. They constantly interact. Therefore, they tell us our life process is the constant process too. Therefore, our experience in our life can be at the beginning is good, but finally end up becoming bad. Or on the other hand, at the first, we could be have a series of failure, then end up to be successful. So in I-Ching, 64 Gua pretty much is telling this process. For example, in here, I give you 4 Gua here, exactly telling you the story. That a good thing can turn into the bad thing, and bad thing can turn into the good thing. Or success can turn into the failure, or failure can turn into success. And that's the way I-Ching foretells one's future. It makes sense, but I feel this knowledge is just a common sense. It's not really a life wisdom. It's just a common sense. So I saw a lot of I-Ching masters try to use the historical figure to justify or to explain how I-Ching foretells one's life wisdom. But after I listen to them, I feel that is just a person's life story. It is an after-death explanation, rehearsal. Okay, you want to predict something, you should predict before they die. But you try to say those things is your prediction after they die. To me, that is after the fact, not before the fact. Therefore, you got to realize that each inventory tell us just this cycle. Good to bad, bad to good, that keep going on. And that's the basic feature of Yin-Yang rationale. Okay, let's be more specific. Do you know there are 384 Yao in I-Ching? And this Yao is supposed to tell us how to behave, because they are each in the instruction or are to follow. But do you know the Yao is just a symbol? It just comes from the author's imagination. It's not come from scientific knowledge, because this Yao is not a measurable variable, and it cannot be statistically processed. So they don't provide scientific knowledge. I-Ching period is just a philosophical imagination. Is not giving a scientific knowledge. For example, in I-Ching, there's a Gua called Chen Gua, and there's one Yao was saying you got to have a 10 Xin Jian, and in English, I translate as a heavenly strong. And let's see, this is if we turn this as a trait for human being to have, in psychology, it could be a persistent. And to me, persistent is the result of intermittent reinforcement. It's not come from slogan. It's not come from imagination. It is the behavior produced by intermittent reinforcement. So you can see the difference between science and philosophy. And I-Ching is just a philosophy of nature. I give you another example. I have been doing a study on social skills and published 2 articles right here, and they will emphasize that if you want to increase the patient's assertiveness, you have to give them a skill training. I cannot just like a follow agent, just tell them, say, oh, you guys, don't worry, right now is success. They don't even, you got to be careful because they don't even be failure. Or saying you are failure right now, don't worry, they don't even become successful. That don't do the work. It is the scientific knowledge give us the guidance to our life. While I was teaching in Taiwan some 30 years ago, I remember on one occasion, my student invited me to their school to deliver a speech on straight communication. You can see here, I did publish an article on straight communication in a book here, published in Taiwan. And that time, I was speaking on straight communication on this topic. And I did not know they also invite a I-Ching master come to the scene. And I have with him on a brief exchange on the topic. And right now I remember at that time, when we communicate, we should have a straight line communication from beginning to the end. But this I-Ching master said, no, not a straight. We should have a curved communication. Just to say, shoot like a curve, not straight. That's what we are different on that. Then I specifically say, what we feel inside and what we express outside should be consistent. In and out should express the same message. But this I-Ching master said, no. Out in Chinese, he said, 内方外圆. That is 内刚外柔. That is, if you feel your inside should be maintained a square, but on the outside, it should be very soft with others. So my favorite is the inside and outside should be send out the same message. But he doesn't think so. It's the inside should be very straight, but outside should be soft. That's his position. And this is very hard to explain. You got to use the Chinese to explain this. Because a lot of people did have this kind of feeling too. Then I even more specifically say, if you want it, you should say you want it. If you don't want it, then you say you don't want it. Is you want it all the way or you don't want it all the way on that exchange, on your exchange. But this I-Ching master say, no, want it and don't want it can be in the exchange. It may be at the first, you can say you want it, but on certain circumstances, you can change you don't want it. That's what is the expression. And that's we are different on that point. Then comes the last. I feel you can communicate people with a straight line communication. After that, I think you will feel relief spiritually, emotionally. You just can walk very easy. You don't have to worry about anything. You're very relieved. But in each master say, we do everything should with some caution. So even if you have an exchange communication with someone, you have a peace, but you still have to have maintained certain caution. Then after that, I feel right now, I'm talking about the goal, straight line communication is to have a double win. I win, you win. That's the purpose. But I think he did not say that, but I think this I-Ching master feel his goal is to have a single win, not a double win. And my rationality to have a straight line communication all based on my own theory of art or harmony. But I think maybe he is based on Sun Tzu's art of war. This is my brief summary on this. I hope this gives you a direct implication or direct knowledge what I'm talking about today. And please take a close look at it. Okay, my friend, we have come to the end of my today's speech. I want to make a brief summary. Basically, I-Ching is a hard to read or classic book. It's really hard to read, to interpret, unless you have a very good knowledge in Chinese. But I feel the I-Ching's Ying-Yang rationale has lost its appeal. At this moment in our life, at this 21st century, we get more knowledge from science or direction for our survival. Therefore, I don't think there's a need for us to be sidetracked by the I-Ching. So you can watch the I-Ching video, it's okay, you can watch for entertainment, but really, you have to be serious about your life. Your life should be directed by scientific knowledge, not by philosophical issues. And this is the end of my conclusion. And if you like my today's visiting topic, please subscribe and we all refer it to others. Okay? I see you next time. Bye-bye.